Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast and iTunes #1 kids and family podcast. We are so happy to have you as part of our Reading with Your Kids family, and we're so excited that you're listening today. I'm really, really thrilled. Our guest today was at one time, not too long ago, one of the giants in the magic industry, and she gave it all up to be a children's author, a wonderful children's author. Today you're going to meet the amazing Ning Cai. Before my new friend Ning joins us, I would love you to check out my picture book. It's called Real Magic. I think it's really appropriate that I'm talking about real magic right before we introduce you to the artist formerly known as Magic Babe Ning. Because real magic tells the real story, the true story of a really amazing experience that I had on stage. You know that I've been performing educational magic shows for many decades now. And I've had amazing experiences because I'm interacting with kids, and they're kids that are selected at random, and I have no idea who they are. They have no idea who I am. And I bring these kids up on stage, and we really have incredible moments. And there's this one moment many years ago where I brought a young girl up on stage, and she seemed very, very shy. In fact, she didn't want to say and even tell me her name. But because the audience made her feel welcome, something incredible happened. And it really is incredible. And it really changed the way I looked at what I was doing for a living. And it really changed the way a lot of people looked at what I was doing. And it reminded me, and it taught me, and this is something I like to share with kids, that anytime we help somebody feel loved, we can help them do amazing, magical things. Real Magic, you can find Real Magic on Amazon, and you can also find it at and get an autographed copy at realmagicstories.com. Joining us on the line right now from Edinburgh in Scotland. Before that, she was in Singapore. Please welcome to the show. She's the author of a fantastic new YA title called Misdirection, Book 1 of the Savant trilogy. Please welcome to the show, Ning Cai. Ning, how are you?
Hey, Jet. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
I am really, really excited. I'm excited to have you on. I'm also excited to learn about Misdirection. Why don't you tell us, we'll begin by just telling us about the book.
Right. So, Misdirection is my 5th book, and it came out just earlier this year in 2018. So if you're listening to us somewhere in the future, this was in 2018. It was actually based off a competition that I submitted entry for in 2016. This was for the Epigram Books Fiction Prize. So the manuscript was actually longlisted, and I was given a contract to turn it into a trilogy. So book 1 came out earlier this year, and I really want to thank everybody who helped make it possible that it was on the ST Straits Times bestseller list for 6 weeks once it was launched at Books Kinokuniya. And book 2 will come out next year. That's 2019 when I come back from Edinburgh.
Yeah, and you're in Edinburgh right now on scholarship studying writing.
That's right. So more about my first book, Misdirection. It's a YA crime novel, and it's about this 16-year-old girl who wakes up from a coma, and she realizes that, firstly, her family's been killed. She doesn't know why, because they seem like just a normal family, or are they? Mm-hmm. And another thing she realizes about herself is that she's now a savant. So a quiet savant is somebody who suddenly gets superhuman powers. And I've researched this, and it's very fascinating because you have people from all over the world with different talents. So for her, she has a photographic memory, and so she uses that to help solve crime.
Fabulous, and it must have been exciting for you to research that and to learn more about savants.
Yeah, Jet, you're right. And it's quite funny how it all came about. So a few years ago, my friend Janice Wong, the chef, so we were in Japan, and we were actually just having dinner and just chatting. And because I've known her since we were in school, like in secondary school, in Methodist Girls' School. And I asked her, like, why did she suddenly become a chef? Because I did remember her being, like, interested into, like, baking and stuff like that, because there was home economics then. So she shared with me that she was in a car accident that left her with a concussion. And after she woke up from that car crash, she just had this compulsion to paint. And that's why she decided to dive into this whole aspect of edible art. And that's what she's known for now.
Wow. That's amazing. So the human body and the human brain, we really don't know all that much about it. And it's just amazing the things that we're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I felt like, now that I know a real life savant, it spurred me on to find out more. And that's when I, went on the internet and I found out that there were people who, they had like concussions just like Jen. They dived into the swimming pool, they hit their head, and then they woke up a couple of days later and they become like music virtuosos who could arrange and compose the most amazing music. But prior to that, they had no music theory or knowledge.
Wow. So it's what drew you to writing? Because I know you've had quite a life before becoming a writer, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But what was it about writing that interested you?
Well, okay, yes, a lot of people do know me for my magic. I know you're going to talk about that later. But the thing is, magic is kind of like, I'll say magic's all about communication. And writing is about communication as well. You're putting words on a piece of paper, that, anyone could read and then they escape into another world. And I love that. So to be honest, even before, I even knew what magic was, when I was very young, I was a little girl, I always loved reading. My mother started me off with Enid Blyton books, and then I fell in love with with reading, really. I would like read every day. So I wrote down Matilda was like my absolute favorite book when I was growing up, because it's about this girl who had amazing powers, and it just opened my mind to the possibilities of life. So when I was about 8 years old, I actually wrote a little piece and I submitted it into this kids magazine called Young Generation, or YG for short. And a couple of weeks later, I received a letter from the editor himself, and they said that they were going to publish my piece, and they included a little voucher. I think it was like maybe $75 worth of vouchers. And to me at that time, as a child, it was like, wow, I got paid to write. So I remember like running back into the kitchen to show my mom, like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be published. And I think I never stopped writing. I would keep this journal, even in school, in film school. I would always be in my corner, just writing poetry, prose, or ideas that hit me, and I felt like two contrasting ideas put together would be a pretty interesting theme of sorts.
Yeah, and I think, and I know that's as someone who presents educational magic shows, I know that magic, the best magic, is storytelling.
Yes.
There are some people who get up and like, look at me, I can do this and you can't. But that's,
pretty much. I mean, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, and that's not very interesting. But the real magic is, are when folks are telling stories. And it's a beautiful way. It's a beautiful way for me to go out and educate kids and to talk to kids about different issues. And so it must have been, fun for you. And, Ning just kind of glossed over, like, yeah, I was a magician. Well, she was a pretty famous magician in Singapore. In fact, I think you were credited with making magic popular in Singapore.
Oh man, thank you so much. But it's not a one man or one woman effort. I really believe that we all stand on the shoulders of the giants, before us, and Singapore's a very young, independent nation. We're only like a little bit past 50, and magic-wise, I feel that we're still very young. and there's a lot more to go. I'm very thankful for the 15 years that I was in the business, because, well, let's put it this way. Performing magic for family and friends is very different from performing it for corporate situations. So, and as you know, Singapore is a very interesting country where we are very hungry. So the focus has always been more on the science than the arts. And growing up, I was in a school where they focus mostly on the pure science and not much on literature. Yeah, so that's quite a shame, because I feel that at the end of the day, it's always about the embracing of both the arts and the science. And my parents were quite, I guess they were a little bit concerned when, their firstborn said that, you know what, Mom and Dad, I just got my first degree and I'm just going to become a magician. So, my mom, your typical Asian mom, she said, like, why do you want to twist balloons for kids? And I said, okay, it's a little bit different, from that. And I just told her that, give me 2 years. Give me 2 years and I'll try to work everything out. And I managed to convince them, because, I was like going overseas to Oman to perform illusions for the royalty there. I did escapes, in Genting Highlands, and I was based there for one month actually, performing every night. And I've been all over the world, and I managed to see a lot of places that I never thought I could visit because of magic. So I will always be very grateful for the people I've met in my journey.
Yeah, I had a similar situation. My parents were very concerned when their firstborn let them know that he was going to do magic and try to make a living at it. I didn't quite get to where you were, but I'm still working on it, and 30 years later, maybe it's someday. But anyway.
But it's different. I mean, you're doing education, and it's great.
Yes, I feel very, very blessed, and it's been a wonderful journey for me. I'm curious. Misdirection, the title of your book, that is certainly something we talk a lot about and use in magic. Is there a connection? Is there some kind of magic connection in your book?
Yes, and okay, so this book is a young adult novel, and one thing about the protagonist is that she is Singaporean. She's an 18-year-old, and her mom is Chinese Singaporean, and her father is Caucasian. So she's mixed. She's Eurasian, and she's not a magician, but she does meet a magician later. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he evil? Is he a friend or foe? Well, we'll have to find out more when you read it.
Excellent. One of the things I love talking to authors about, and it's kind of a natural question for someone who wrote a picture book or a middle grade book, but what kind of here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast, we really encourage parents and kids to read together. And certainly we don't expect a teenager to cuddle up on the couch with their mom or dad reading Misdirection, but it's certainly a book that they can co-read and then sit down and talk about over the dinner table or on their way to school or soccer practice. What kind of conversations do you think can families have co-reading Misdirection together?
I think it's about family at the end of the day, because our protagonist, she has to go through this whole struggle of finding her identity, because she lost 3 years of her life. And furthermore, she lost her family, her little brother and her mom and her dad. So, there's family that you're born into, but there's also family that you make. And they can be family in the sense of good friends, and new friends, old friends, and extended family members, as long as you let them in. So it's I guess I was very much influenced by Hayao Miyazaki. His films is usually about a focus on a young girl, and she has this whole hero's journey to go through. So Misdirection is definitely something where I'm very proud of, because the focus really is on family, and that's what really matters at the end of the day.
I love what you said about, family. We are born into a family, but we can also choose to create our own kind of families by being open and letting people in. That certainly has been an experience we've had hosting international kids. And you know, I sit with my wife and I said, you know, it's pretty soon we're going to have grandkids. We're going to have the kids that our kids bring us, and then we're going to have Chinese grandkids and Italian grandkids and Indian grandkids. It's going to be great. So this is your 5th book. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your other work?
Okay, so yes, Misdirection is number 5. The one before that was actually a middle grade book. So it's quite funny how you mentioned middle grade earlier. That one's called Magician, and that's co-written with my friend Don Bosco, who's also a children's books author. So that was something that we did with Marshall Cavendish, International Asia. And, because they were my publisher prior to this latest book. So Marshall Cavendish published 4 of my books, and the 5th one is really by Epigram Books. Mm-hmm. So with Magician, with Don Bosco, it's kind of loosely based off Magic Bait. It was like basically my old stage character, Magic Bait Ning, if she was in a dystopian future and if she was like much younger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it also has a focus on female friendships. So her best friend is called Pam. And Pam is my best friend and also the co-author of my very first book, Adventures of Two Girls. So the book that started my professional writing career was birthed in 2012, and I actually asked my friend Neil Gaiman to write the foreword, and Neil was really sweet and kind, despite his crazy schedule with like writing and flying to different countries, filming his TV shows. Neil wrote the foreword for Adventures of Two Girls, which is a book about this crazy round-the-world backpacking adventure that Pam and I took back in 2011. So from Singapore, we went to different parts of the US, and then different parts of Europe, followed by different parts of the African continent, and then we went back to India, and then back to Southeast Asia. So in hindsight, I think it should have been called the Misadventures of Two Girls. but it's all good because we're still friends. We're still talking, and she's making plans to come up to Scotland to visit me. And so yes, the other 2 books, I co-wrote one with John Teo that was released last year. It's actually a creativity book, so it's actually called Game of Thoughts. A little bit of a play of Game of Thrones. And because John, he's a trainer where he teaches like corporate folks like about creativity, utilizing that in a workspace. But he's also the president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians Singapore. So we collaborated on that book, and it's a great favorite, and it's been turned into a course that he teaches now in Singapore. And the second book, the last one, it's called Who is Magic Bait Ning? Mm-hmm. So that's the one that was nominated for the Singapore Literature Prize in 2016. I was really surprised. I did not see that coming, because this was at a time when I had decided to leave my magic career, because I spent, more than a decade doing escape acts and illusions on stage, breaking world records, and people question why was I deciding to get out of the scene at my peak. And my publisher just, asked me to write an autobiography. So, so that happened. And, next thing I knew, I had a lot of girls actually emailing me and finding me on Facebook and telling me that they really enjoyed the book because my autobiography gave them courage to find their own niche and follow their own path in life. So I thought, that turned out quite well in the end.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm getting from speaking to you, and also knowing and being aware of you through magic, is you're an amazingly accomplished young woman, but you're also, one of the things I take away from it is that you're a very brave woman. And that, you you kind of have gone up against different challenges. You know, first it's like, I'm doing this untraditional thing, and please don't hate me. And then it's, you know, I'm at the top of my game and I'm saying goodbye. You know, there's so many people at my age. I know so many people who are, I hate my job, but I can't leave it. And, you know, so you've done these things and you backpacked around the world. What can you say to kind of encourage young women and also young men to kind of find that courage inside them to go out and make their dreams come true?
Well, thank you so much for your kind words, really. But to be honest, I feel like just a regular person. I have my insecurities as well, you know. I do have like some self-doubt sometimes, and I think it's very human for us to all kind of lapse into that sometimes. But I'm going to share something with you that I don't really tell everybody. When I was 21, that was the year I had my cancer scare. So I think because of that, it was a catalyst that made me think about, you know, what was I doing about my life? You know, was I just working in a job that I'm not crazy about? You know, and at that time I was actually working in an office. I was doing marketing for a shopping mall. So I'll be one planning like you know, promotions and stuff like that. It was an okay job, and the boss was a great guy, but it wasn't something that I was deeply passionate about. And even then, I was already writing for newspapers, so I was a freelancer. I would do reviews. I would like do little short articles, and they paid like 20 cents a word. But I wanted more in life, and that's I think that kind of sparked it when I realized that okay, I hadn't officially turned 21, and something happened to me that made me realize that I might not actually live up to like, I don't know, 80-ish or like 90, like my grandma. Cause my grandmother's like 93 and she's so strong. So that made me think about what is something I really want to do. So after the surgery, I told my parents that, you know, I was going to finish up my uni, and then I'm just gonna like, you know, quit the job that I had. So, they've always felt that I've been responsible in my own way, and they allowed me to do it. You know, they kind of gave me their blessings the most they could, and I just kind of banged out my own path. So, at the end of the day, I'm here speaking with you, and, you know, it's been many years since I'm 21, and I wouldn't have changed anything. You know, I would have done everything that I did the same. No regrets. I mean, some people, you know, some of my friends, they become like traders and they make tons of money, but I'm happy with my own lot in life. So at the end of the day, I think everyone has their own journey to make. And if you're a writer, I feel everybody has a story that they can share, they can share with the world. So find your gift, find out what you're passionate about, know what you want in life, and then go and get it. Mm-hmm. Be hungry.
Mm-hmm. Wise words, great advice. I think it's great advice for anybody, but especially for young kids, young men, young women going out there, because there is so much uncertainty out there. And I think that's one of the things you discovered, that nothing is certain. Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So beautiful, beautiful. Well, if folks, I know folks are going to want to find you. You were letting me know now that Misdirection is now available as an ebook.
That's right.
Yeah, and the first edition, I guess, sold out, right?
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I was so touched. During the official launch at Books Kinokuniya and Yan City Takashimaya, people queued up for hours just to get the book, and it was completely sold out. And I felt so bad for the staff, because the book elves were like scampering around the store trying to find every last copy, and some people had to like be turned away without a copy, and they had brought flowers and stuff.
Oh wow.
So yeah, but but this shows me that Singaporeans, still do want to read, even though now we live in a very digital age where, we all carry a black mirror that sucks our soul in with like social media and everything. But there are still people who love reading. There are still people who have dreams of writing. And I hope that never change.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with people like you creating great works of fiction and nonfiction, I think there'll be an audience for books forever.
Thanks, Jed. We can only try.
Yeah. Ning, where can folks find out more about you online? Is there a place online where they can go?
Well, I'm on Instagram. It's at Ning, Ning, full stop, Thing, Thing. So that's Ning.Thing. I'm also on Facebook. You can just search for me, Ning Cai, Ningcai. And I've got an author's page that I set up quite recently called Ning Cai Writes. So they can, directly contact me through that as well, if not through both my publishers, Marshall Cavendish or Epigram Books.
Excellent. Well, the name of the book we're speaking about primarily today is Misdirection. It is book 1 of the Savant trilogy. That means there's going to be a book 2 in 2019, and maybe we can get Ning to come back and chat with us then.
I would love to.
We've been talking with Ning Cai today. Ning, thank you so very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Nancy Chernin. She is going to be here. She has created an amazing series. Talk about a great concept for books. You're just going to love it. She loves to shine a spotlight on unknown people, unknown heroes, and inspire them to really be heroic and change the world. Change their little piece of the world. I love speaking to Nancy. You're going to love listening too. Hey, if you are the author of a life-changing book or just a book that's going to bring a smile to kids' faces, we would love to help you tell the world all about that book. Being a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast, it's fun, it's easy, and it is absolutely free. You can learn all about it by visiting our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know all about your book. We'll let you know the next steps. Like I said, it's fun, it's easy, and it is free. Hey, we want to thank our friend Ning Cai for being here today. And, of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And, as always, thank you so much for making your part of the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.